So hello and welcome to today's video, and in today's video I'm going to give you one fact about every mainline story mission in Bully. Now some of these are beta and cut content facts, others are just general trivia, but with that out of the way, let's begin, and we'll go in order from Welcome to Bullworth to Final Showdown and everything in between. So, in Welcome to Bullworth, Miss Danvers was going to give Jimmy a tour of the school and the surrounding grounds rather than just disappearing out of nowhere after the cutscene ends. Now This Is Your School was actually going to be combined with Welcome to Bullworth to be one long introductory mission, which was most likely cut down to give the player a bit of time to explore the school grounds without much risk or hassle. And Get to Class, which is the mission that sort of begins after Gary introduces Jimmy to the school's cliques, is the only mission, excluding boss fights, that Jimmy cannot save before attempting. As seen in one of Bully's pre-release trailers, the setup was actually going to take place indoors rather than outside, possibly on the deleted third floor. Slingshot is one of the very few moments in Bully where you can meet a clip leader in free mode without modding. If you fail the mission at the part where Jimmy's in the tree, you can meet Ted Thompson, the jock leader, who is identifiable by having a 0 on his shirt. Now Save Algae is probably the most detailed mission in all of Bully, as taking different paths or taking Algernon to different bathrooms will give you unique dialogue and new mission objectives. For example, taking Algernon to the downstairs boys' toilet, you'll have a new objective to fight Trent before Algernon tells you you're in the wrong one. If you play on the PlayStation version of Bully, A Little Help is the only mission that unlocks an optional collectible for Jimmy to find around Bullworth. Defend Bucky is one of the very few missions in the game that has a unique mission failed screen. If Bucky gets knocked out, you'll get this small cutscene instead. If you attempt that bitch without any stink bombs, you'll have an alternate mission cutscene and a new mission objective, where rather than just being told to go to the gym, you'll get this instead.
Hey Gary, I need to get something from Mandy's locker.
I'm not surprised. You know, you should put a stink bomb in there. It'd be funny. Get one from Fatty. He knows everything about stinking.
And your new objective is to find Fatty and pay or beat him up for his stink bombs instead, and then the mission resumes like normal. If you have stink bombs, this part will be completely skipped over.
Just give it back! Are you threatening me, Metal Mouth?
The flags used by Ernest Jones and the Candidate bear a striking resemblance to the flags used by Nazi Germany. Rather than just free roaming and doing errands, originally Halloween was going to be a much more fleshed out mission, where Jimmy and Gary would go out and play pranks on the entire school, usually ending up with Pete getting the blame and receiving the comeuppance that Gary should have deserved instead, including not limited to getting kicked in the balls by the bullies and being bullied by Mr. Burton and Dr. Slaughter for his pink bunny costume. The soundtrack used in Help Gary was actually going to be used for the Carnival Funhouse mission instead, as the track used when Jimmy and Gary enter the basement is called Carnival Funhouse Minor. If you get knocked out in Russell in the Hole, you'll get a short cutscene of Russell gloating over Jimmy's defeat, which never happens in any other boss fight at all.
Me Russell!
Patrick vs Galloway, one of the first missions in Chapter 2, is the only time in the entire game you can encounter Dr. Crabblesnitch free roaming. In Last Minute Shopping, Jimmy picks up some meat from Yum Yum Market and Mr. O, the shopkeeper, says the meat expires at midnight. Now this is actually false, as food doesn't suddenly go off at a specific time. But Edna's claims of it will last a month are definitely wrong though. The Wii version of the Prep Challenge is the only version of Bully to contain the more bloody and bruised models of Jimmy's opponents. This was removed in all other versions of the game. In movie tickets you can see Gordon the Preps going out with Lola to the movies, which is a bit of a hint as to what to expect in the third chapter's story. If you even attempt to start Carnival Date without any flowers, you'll get an instant mission fail screen before the cutscene even starts. In the eggs, if you do not have any eggs and proceed to go to Tad's house, you'll get a unique cutscene that not many people know exists.
You need to get your own eggs. Can't you afford your own eggs?
Pete Kowalski somehow discovers the ability to teleport in Race the Veil, as he'll be outside the dorm with Jimmy at the start, but will suddenly teleport to the beach afterwards. You don't actually have to knock out every single prep and beach rumble. If you run up to Gord and just grapple him, you can enter a tug of war with him, and once Jimmy snatches a trophy, the other preps run off and the mission is completed. Tad's house has a bit of a strange oddity with the shopkeeper, as in the mission cutscene Mr. O speaks with an American accent, while in free mode he has an Asian one. After starting Boxing Challenge, this will be the only time in the entire game where it snows without Bullworth being coated in snow. It is possible to fight Darby Harrington in the entire gym before he runs to the boxing gym's bar, but you will have to be really quick. Edgar Munson makes an appearance in the mission Balls of Snow, being one of the kids that Jimmy can throw a ball at. You can actually beat Miracle on Bullworth Street within 30 seconds by skipping all the objectives and just jumping into the castle instead. Like, regardless if you smash up the entire workshop or not, the mission is complete once the castle falls. Pete Kowalski makes an unrecognisable appearance in Nutcracking as he's playing the timpani. If you attempt to play Rudy the Red-Nosed Santa after obtaining a coloured camera, you will encounter a major bug, as once the mission is over your camera will permanently be stuck in monochrome, as it's impossible to get the coloured camera back. Christmas is Here, at least on the PlayStation version, is the only mainline story mission which can be accessed at any point in Chapter 3. As opposed to every other mission which is required to progress, this mission will not trigger until Jimmy sleeps once, regardless if Jimmy's only just started Chapter 3 and done no missions at all, or if somebody's speedrunning and somehow accomplished half the chapter in a single day. In the cutscene to Jealous Johnny, Johnny Vincent says meet me at the underpass near New Coventry tonight, despite the entire cutscene taking place at the underpass in New Coventry, and can also be attempted at any time during the day. Fate is the only mission to have two different outcomes at the end, one with an angry Johnny Vincent and one with a happy Johnny Vincent, much to many players' confusion. In fact, Johnny Vincent's attitude at the end depends if Johnny was the one to knock Gord out, as if he does, you'll get the happier Johnny ending. If Jimmy knocks Gord out, you'll get the angry Johnny ending. Tagging is the only mission in Bully that has a varying payout depending on how well you do, with mission payout being as high as up to $400. Gary Smith's only appearance in Chapter 3 is in the wrong part of town, and this is Gary's only post-betrayal appearance where he isn't antagonising Jimmy. In the cutscene to Lola's race, Johnny claims that Jimmy came to Lola's house to look for him, but the entire cutscene takes place in the middle of the street. Near the room where you fight Norton Williams in the Tenements is an empty room that has its doors completely shut, but if you were to enter the Tenements again for the errand given you to buy a cop or just modding your way inside, the room can be opened, as this is the original room where Jimmy would have fought Norton Williams. Despite fighting Vance, Peanut and Lefty in the Rumble, the cutscene that plays straight after shows Hal and Ricky, two characters that were nowhere to be seen during the fight in the alleyway, while Vance, who claims he knows where Johnny is, disappears off the face of the planet. Once you knock Johnny Vincent off his bike in Fighting Johnny Vincent, the theme changes to a mashup with the Greasers and Jocks theme, making this the only track in the entire game to have an official Click remix. Before Jimmy can even start Stronghold Assault, he will have 100% respect for the nerds, which makes them the only faction Jimmy can get 100% respect with without beating up their leader. But even though he has 100% respect, he cannot harden his bodyguards and nerds won't give him a second chance if he hits them. The nerd boss fight is the only boss fight in the entire game where Jimmy doesn't actually hurt whoever he's fighting. Instead of looking to beat up Ernest, the entire boss fight is just bringing down his balcony, while Ernest remains unharmed. Also, the nerd boss fight is the only boss fight to not have a unique theme for Ernest, instead it just reuses the original nerd's theme. Funhouse Fun has a rather creepy but hard to hear track that not many people know of exists due to the fact the mission music drowns it out, and this is what it sounds like. Because of paparazzi, most of the Bully fanbase consider Ernest Jones to be a bit of a pervert. The original concept of Defender of the Castle was to have Jimmy riding around in the back of a nerd battle wagon, a makeshift vehicle of war, which would be unlocked for Jimmy to use after the mission was completed, but was removed because it was just too taxing for the PlayStation 2 to handle. One of the poses that Fad sticks up in Discretion the Sword is one of Mandy on the toilet. In Paparazzi, Jimmy never takes a photo like that, implying he did in the beta, or Ernest just got somebody else to take those particular photos for him. After completing Nye's outfit, Jimmy unlocks the mascot outfit to wear, which when he does wear, everybody will be hostile to Jimmy, as they believe he is a jock, and this will last until Ted Thompson is dealt with. So, have you ever wondered why Edna says, "You, what are you doing? That's disgusting" in Hatred vs. Galloway? Well, that's actually because she was supposed to say that in the big game, when she catches Jimmy pissing in a drinks cooler. Before you're allowed to sack Ted in his boss fight, you can still hurt him during the first 3 parts of the fight where you're just chucking balls at his bodyguards, but his health is extraordinarily high. This is to avoid the player ending the fight early. His health in the mission is 5,000, and yes, it is possible to take him down, but there is no alternate cutscene as it just cuts straight to the end. Miss Danvers can be heard in making a mark when Jimmy tags the town hall, but she is nowhere to be seen at all amongst the angry crowd. The background music used for Rats in the Library was going to be used in Final Showdown, as originally the music files for this were called ms_Final Showdown, low, medium and high, while the one used in the actual Final Showdown are just called ms_Final Showdown 03. There's an entire segment of the gym is burning which was cut from the final game, because after finding Gurney in the girls' locker room, you were supposed to give chase to him across the map of Bulworth, before being led to the Townie's hideout. This can be restored with the mod. Even though finding Johnny Vincent is the first time you learn Johnny Vincent's gone missing, it's actually implied he might have gone missing during some time between the Chapter 5 intro and making a mark, as Johnny is the only faction leader not present at all in the cutscene while everybody else is. The only time you can obtain a lawnmower in free mode without modding is by completing Revenge on Mr. Burton, but of course you cannot keep it, as once you reset the game or get knocked out, Jimmy will lose it again. Now Preppy's Vandalise has a bit of a plot hole, as after Jimmy meets Vance in the alleyway, the next objective is to go to the warehouse in Blue Skies. Despite the fact Vance never even mentioned a warehouse or Blue Skies at all, he only said the Townies were responsible. Originally, Go See the Principal was going to be the start of Chapter 6 as identified by the game's files listing it as 6_01, meaning Chapter 5 would have been the only chapter not to have ended with a boss fight. While Busting In Part 1 isn't the only mission in Bully to be split in multiple parts, it is the only mission to have Part 1 in its name, as most other missions tend to have completely different names. But in Busting In Part 2, at no point are you instructed to go to the Wonder Meats building, but if you do, you'll encounter some townies that you'll always skip over, which implies that this is a cut objective. In Showdown at the Plant, if Jimmy was to get knocked out during the second part of the fight, Edgar would throw Jimmy into the surrounding acid pit. And while that does sound like complete bollocks, there are actually a load of files left over which do confirm this, including but not limited to character quotes and leftover code. Despite the preppies clearly taking part in the massive brawl, Darby Harrington is the only character in Complete Mayhem to not actually be taking part in any of the riots, as he's residing in Harrington House relaxing before Jimmy busts in. Every other leader is taking part in some way. Like Johnny Vincent's clearly been roughed up, Ted Thompson and Ernest Jones are burning each other's buildings down, Russell is trying to help Jimmy and Edgar's gone to find Gary. And Final Showdown was either part of the 7th chapter and the story was going to be extended a bit more, or there was an entire epilogue chapter planned, as there are files for a 7th chapter left over in the files, but it's all scraps and the only leftovers are markers for Mission 1 and Mission 3. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed this one fact about every mission in Bully. Hope to see you all at the next video. Thank you for watching and have a great day.